Will do. Yeah. Hope I won't go around the houses, but hopefully short and sharp. Want to share something that's a really very close and something that's just happened in the last few weeks. With the pandemic, we all sort of have various challenges, and about 2 months ago, I suddenly had this cough. The cough continued to be persistent. I then had what I believe was a very bad dose of tonsillitis. And then it went into the chest and started wheezing. And I still didn't want to do anything because I just thought it would go away. And it continued to get worse. I have a wife who basically said, look, this is enough. You've got to do something about this. And so nothing I did, gargling, which would normally sort of help, it just wouldn't stop. So I finally called the doctor, and she wanted me to do all the full test because at my age and because it was persistent. Now, do you know when we go through various things, sometimes things you remember things, and the thing that I remembered was those who remember Roy Castle. I remember going to one of his concerts, and Roy Castle was so funny. But one thing he told me, which always stood at the back of my mind, was this. Roy said, he had this persistent cough, and when the persistent cough came, he was concerned. And then obviously, as those who know that Roy passed away, and when he did, there was this cough that was partly the reason it affected his lungs. So at this point, I was getting quite worried. One thing I did was to get people to pray, the chapter pray, the family pray, and it was not healing. It was just not going. In fact, it got worse. I mean, the cough was, in some ways, was terrifying. At times, I cannot believe that from nothing, you can get to a situation where it was, I was frightened. The times when I nearly felt I was going to collapse. And yet I could do nothing because the doctor said, wait till this, you have to do the test. It doesn't look like COVID because you don't have the fever. But I was thinking of all the worst things that could happen because it was just painful, it was difficult, and whatever you did. And I was just saying, God, I'm praying in tongues, I'm fasting, I'm doing all the things, I'm reading out scripture, and yet it just wouldn't go. And I think for all of us, some point in our lives, there are things would happen which we just pray and trust God, and it just doesn't go. It just goes. It just persists. And one day, while I was just really having a bad cough, feeling really angry, feeling really annoyed, I just suddenly had this gentle voice that, go into your drawer, and in the drawer, there's some capsules, lozenges. Take one of those lozenges. And I just thought, what lozenges? And I went to this drawer of mine, and there was this lozenges I probably haven't touched for 4 years or 5 years. Those were for throat lozenges. And for those who know anything about throat lozenges, there's a thing called Tyrosets. I took one of them, and I just thought, okay, I just felt the Lord said, take it. I took that lozenges. Within 1 hour, the cough subsided. Within 5 hours, the cough literally went off. And within a few days, that this very cough that was fearful of and was persistent just literally just went off. And I just sat down and just took a step back and thought, God, what are you trying to tell me through this? Do you know, I did everything from a spiritual point of view, praying in tongues, reading out scripture, and then this thing, this cough came, it was persistent, I was fearful. But in that time of fear, I remembered one thing. I just said, I'm just a passing through, eternity waits. So if this is something that is going to affect me and it's going to be far worse than I thought, I know where I'm going. And that gave me a peace that no matter what, on this, where we are, wherever the situation is, we know an eternal place. I know whom I believe. And I remember the words that Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and no one. So I had that peace that whatever happened, I was there. But meanwhile, I had to deal with my time here, and I had to deal with this cough, and it wasn't going. And then suddenly, it got better, and it literally, as suddenly as it came, it suddenly went. And I have no explanation for it. I've got, for those who hurt me, thought literally I was going to die because it was so bad. And I just want to encourage anyone here today. And I was just saying, what was it that, Lord, you're telling me? That sometimes we need to pray, we need to do the things that spiritually we need to, but there are things that we have to do. And the Lord reminded me of that one word in Hezekiah, in Scripture, where Hezekiah, the king, was really ill, and God told him he was going to be completely healed. But yet a fig had to be put on his boil before he's completely well. So I knew that when I prayed, God was healing and was healed, but I had to do this part of that treatment towards complete healing. So if any of you today who, the doctors have said, look, there's a new treatment I want you to try, and if you're fearful, I just believe God is saying, do not be fearful. Take that, I'm with you in this. I want to see you healed. And whatever you're going through, I will see you through this. But do this, because in doing something different, sometimes we're frightened. And for me, what was this? Taking this Los Angeles of 5 years old. Ethel would have told me, throw it away because he's so old. But he said, just take that, and he changed things. And the final part of this was, maybe through this pandemic, your job's been affected, or some other aspect of it, that God is saying, try this new opportunity, try this new thing. So I just want to encourage all of you, as I was encouraged, that God is able to heal us completely. And sometimes he will say, take that as part of the healing process. That's